Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My sister is having her 5th baby and expects us to be happy for her. After that, am I the jerk for putting parental controls on my TV and ticking off my father-in-law? And after that, if I don't like it, I can find another job? Okay. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to have 5 babies. In this economy, I don't even think I could handle one. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My sister is having her 5th baby and expects us to be happy for her. I, female 18, have a sister, female 38, who we will call Kay for privacy reasons. Kay has 4 kids with her husband who are 3, 8, 2, and 11. Kay is a stay-at-home mom and her husband works in air conditioning. Kay and her husband came over with their kids on his time off to tell us something. She said that they're pregnant with their 5th baby. My mom was overjoyed, and I wasn't really paying attention. I was focusing on the TV. Then my sister says, "So, what do you think about the news?" I said, "Cool, awesome." Then my sister says, "Just cool? You don't seem that excited for me." And I said, "Well, what do you want me to do? Jump up and down and scream my head off?" I could see if this was like your first kid that you were expecting, like a first-time mother moment. You already have 4 kids and you're on your 5th pregnancy. By this time, you get used to it. Was this baby like really hard to conceive? Like was it hard for you to get pregnant? And Kay said, "No, it just happened. I took the test a week ago." And I said, "Okay then. So after a certain point, you can't expect people to be as enthusiastic as they were for your first." Kay said, "I thought you would be happy for me." And I was like, "I am, but it's not that exciting for me since you've been pregnant before." She got mad and left with her husband and kids and did not stay for dinner. My mom thinks I should apologize to Kay for not being excited about her pregnancy announcement. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Edit. I just want to clarify that this 5th baby was not a baby that was hard to conceive, or they had been trying and wanting a 5th baby. It just happened. Edit 2. I have been financially supporting her other kids, giving her money and food constantly, and babysitting her kids so that she can go out every weekend to hang out with her friends. I did not add it to my original post because that's not what I was focusing on. I wanted opinions on my reaction to the announcement, not me financially supporting her kids. I could have added that, but I couldn't go over the character limit. Sorry for the confusion. Good Lord. Why is it such a terrible burden to be happy about the things that make someone you love happy? Are only firstborn kids worth celebrating? Is a child less valuable because their mother doesn't struggle with infertility? You're not the jerk for not being overly effusive, but your speech about why this baby is no big deal to you puts you in the you're the jerk territory. I'm kind of shocked at how heartless most of the replies here are. I'm gonna be excited and congratulatory even if the lady at the newsstand tells me she's expecting, let alone my sister, and I don't even like kids. People on here talk about a new baby being born as if someone bought a new houseplant, for goodness sake. Even like it's an annoyance, or like the sister is irritating for expecting family to care that a new baby will be born. It's so weird to see. Guess Reddit doesn't exactly gather the most socially sound people. Why should she have to be happy? She was polite, and when mommy-to-be didn't get the attention she was angling for, she threw a tantrum and left. Kids should be loved and appreciated, absolutely. But I'm so sick of this whole culture where every pregnancy announcement has to include an entire family grinning and celebrating with a parade and confetti. Not the jerk, OP. You're fine. Why should she have to be happy? Because she loves her sister and her sister is happy. That's how relationships work. I don't know about you, but when a loved one is happy about something, it makes me happy too, whether or not I care about the thing that made them happy in the first place. Not the jerk. You're 19 and they're on their 5th kid. Who would expect a teenager to be overly joyous at this point? You told her that you were happy and that should have been enough. I don't know why people think others should be jumping through the roof at this point, especially someone your age. Yeah, you're the jerk. I get your point, but it doesn't actually matter whether you are excited or not. Your sister is excited, and it's kind to share and reflect back the excitement of those we love. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her sister? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for putting parental controls on my TV and ticking off my father-in-law? I, male 30s, live with my wife, female 30s. We have 2 kids who are 8 and 6. My wife's parents are staying with us temporarily as their home is having some serious repairs done after a freak accident. It wasn't their fault, and luckily they had insurance. The repairs should be completed in 2 months from now. I don't really get along with my in-laws, especially my father-in-law, but I agreed to let them stay here because I thought that time would fly by and it wouldn't be that bad. But I'm posting here, so I guess I was wrong. My mother-in-law doesn't have a job, and my father-in-law works late shifts until around 11 p.m. When he gets home, they will watch YouTube in the living room and play music on it at a loud volume with our speaker system. It's not college house party bass tearing apart the walls loud, but it is still loud. My kids are not light sleepers, but this wakes them up. Then they come to wake me up because they're wanting me to make it stop. My kids need to be rested for school, and I need to get up in the morning to drop them off and go to work. My wife works overnight shifts, so she doesn't witness this. I've tried to talk to my in-laws about it and ask that they please keep the noise down after my kids' bedtime, which is 8:30 p.m. I don't expect complete silence, but I really don't think they need to have the TV on loud late at night. My father-in-law argued with me and said that he doesn't finish work until 11 p.m., so I'm basically expecting him to not do the things he enjoys after work. I told him he can do it before work or on his days off, or it's tough luck. He complained to my wife, who's now taking his side and saying that the kids need to learn how to sleep through a bit of everyday noise. I told her it's not everyday noise and that he and mother-in-law are being excessively noisy and inconsiderate. She's just not there to see it. My father-in-law has been sending me links to buy earplugs for the kids. I've gotten really fed up with this. It's not my in-laws' house, and they're staying with us as guests, and I think that they're being really selfish. I decided to put parental controls on the TV so that my in-laws can't use it after 8:30 p.m. until 6 a.m. the next day. Between those times, the TV can't be used without putting in the password, and only I know it. This doesn't affect my wife, as she doesn't get off work until 6 a.m. and isn't normally home until 6:20ish. My father-in-law is now incredibly upset with me and said that I'm acting like a child and he keeps pestering me, demanding the password. My wife is also mad at me for upsetting her dad. I'm just so annoyed at this whole situation and I'm sick of hearing about it, so I just want to know if I'm morally in the clear. Not the jerk. Your in-laws are rude and inconsiderate, and your wife should be managing them and backing you up in this. Had she done so, you would not need to take such drastic measures. Both you and the kids need your sleep. The in-laws are guests in your home. This is wildly inappropriate for them to be acting this way. If they don't like the house rules, they can go to a motel. Not the jerk. Who stays as a guest in someone else's home knowing that they have kids and expects them to be okay with them playing loud music all night? Even without the kids in the equation, that's still totally unreasonable. Not the jerk. Everyone needs to make an effort to make a situation like this as easy as possible for everyone involved. That means being a considerate person. It seems as though your in-laws never learned basic manners. Your kids' basic needs trump your father-in-law's wanting to watch TV at a loud volume in the middle of the night. Constantly disrupted sleep is bad for everyone, but for younger kids it's even worse. The kids shouldn't have to wear earplugs. Your in-laws could get headphones instead. So good for you for drawing a line. They seem to not understand it any other way. If they continue behaving the way that they have, they can look for another place to stay. If I don't like it, I can find another job? Okay. I worked at a small shop serving an electrical apprenticeship. Myself and the shop manager had had a few run-ins, and I assume he disliked me as much as I disliked him. I had refused to do a job and told him he didn't pay me enough. It was at the stockyards, and I was expected to put on a set of waders, crawl down into raw fat reclamation tank, and replace a submersible pump. Wasn't going to happen. Another time, he wanted me to lie to a customer to make an issue that they were having sound like it wasn't our fault. I refused and told him if he wanted me to lie about it, he was going to have to drive out to the job site and do it himself. He told me to keep my mouth shut and did come out. I think the only reason he didn't fire me was because I was by far one of the most efficient and versatile employees. This fact had me questioning how much I was getting out of this apprenticeship and was passively looking around for another job to apprentice at. My wage scale was structured, and I got regular raises, bringing me closer to journeyman's level over my time as an apprentice. So I had to find someone that would sign up to complete my apprenticeship as well as want to hire me. One of our better journeymen had gone to another shop and had introduced me to the owners. We had talked about what it would take to get me to move. Things were progressing, but nothing committed to at that point. Cue the malicious compliance. It's my evaluation and raise time. My manager calls me up to the conference room and explains that due to my performance and the shop being in a slow period, he was not going to give me the 25-cent an hour raise as my contract said, but was going to give me $1 more an hour once I became a journeyman. We argued, and I told him if I can't trust you for a quarter, why would I believe you for $1? The argument ended in him telling me, if you don't like it, you can always quit. Oh, really? I picked up the conference room phone on the table in front of us and called the shop I had been talking with. I asked the owner if I brought my own tools over today, would I have a job? After a quick and uncomfortable discussion with his partner, he said yes. I informed my manager and I resigned effective now. I loaded my tools up, punched out, and went straight to work that afternoon. My in-laws demanded that I pay for their dinner. I, female 32, recently inherited a good amount of money from my mom. I keep the money in a separate account as I still haven't decided what to do with it, and I didn't want it to go to waste. I noticed my husband constantly bringing up the inheritance money and making countless suggestions as to how I should spend it. Another thing is that he expects me to pay for nearly everything the past couple of weeks. For New Year's Eve, my husband and I met up with his family at a restaurant to celebrate. It was going fine until I found out that I was expected to pay for everyone at the table. My husband's mom joked about paying for dinner out of my inheritance pocket, which made me livid, but I showed no reaction, just silently paid for my own food and drinks. Then I got up and made my way out of the restaurant. They were shouting after me like a crowd, and my husband tried to get me to come back, but I drove home. He got back at 3 a.m., yelling at me, saying that I was pathetic to get up and walk out on him and his family after they had relied on me to pay for their food and thought I was gracious enough to do it, but they were wrong. He said I humiliated him and his family and that what I did was an attempt to get back at them for not being able to help mom when she was sick. Not true is all I'm gonna say. He's mad and is saying that I caused a huge rift between his family and me when it wouldn't have hurt me to pay for the celebratory dinner. Am I the jerk? So let me get this straight. Your mother passed after an illness, and the thing your in-laws take from this is, great, now she can pay for everything. Yeah, not the jerk. Not the jerk. I'd tell your husband you'd much rather have your mother around than the money, but him and his family trying to blindside you into spending it on them is disgusting. That you plan on taking your time to decide what you want to do with that money and don't want anything like this to occur again. A divorce attorney may be a wise investment since hubby showed his true colors. Instead of suggesting they spend the money on buying a house or rental property or put away for retirement, he wants her to blow the money away ever since she got it. Good for her keeping it separate. Talk to a financial advisor and maybe a divorce or probate attorney so that the inheritance is properly kept as a separate asset and not commingled into marital property. Want me to be on the job by 8:30? Okay. This takes place over the past 2 months, and without going into too much detail about my work, here's the story. I work in a large metro city on a team that does maintenance on our infrastructure, keeping our plant running and keeping our customer services running. We all have a company truck that we take home every day and start our days at 7:30 every morning, 5 days a week. Now, I live the furthest from our service area, 45 minutes to an hour drive without traffic, and there's always traffic. That being said, some days it takes me 2.5 hours to get to my first job in the mornings. My supervisor knows this and was okay with it, as long as I was en route to my first job by 7:30. Then we had a restructuring of the big bosses. They wanted us on our first job by 8:30. I emailed my supervisor about it, and he assured me that I was fine, and he was aware of my drive time in. A few weeks pass, and he tells me the new big bosses aren't happy about my arrival times in the mornings, and that I'd need to leave earlier. I asked him to email that to me so I can remember to set my alarm earlier. I really asked for it emailed to me so I'd have documentation. He does. Now, I'm kind of upset because I don't want to have to get up earlier and not get paid to drive into our area, so I start looking into our policies. Our policy on time recording is pretty strict and states if we are operating company equipment, my truck, we're working. So I start leaving at 6 every morning, giving me ample time to get to my first job by 8:30 and starting my time as soon as I started my truck, giving me an hour and a half overtime every day. Now, I knew something was going to be said about this, and when my supervisor showed up on me, asking me why I was clocking that overtime every morning before my shift, I handed him his email, telling me to leave earlier and the attendance policy with the section highlighted. He looks up to me, grinning from ear to ear, and compliments me on finding a loophole in the big boss's new rule. I haven't had another thing said to me about my overtime or anything else about me not being on the job by 8:30. I'm still not happy about waking up earlier, but the 7.5 hours of overtime a week is nice. Am I the jerk for telling my daughter she could learn something from my friend's daughter who got a job that she didn't? I'm 49, male, and my daughter is 22. I've changed the names in this post. My best friend, Tom's daughter, Kate, is an architecture major. She got accepted to a college in California and graduated with good results. My daughter, Anne, also went into architecture and she's doing well. Anne is generally a quieter person and she does tend to laze around a bit. Both Anne and Kate applied for a job at the same firm, which is co-owned by Tom's brother. She didn't end up getting the job, but Kate did and she was very upset. She's moved on and got offers from a couple of other places. We had a friend's Christmas a couple of days after actual Christmas, where some of my college buddies and their families got together. The conversation turned to Tom and his wife, and they were talking about Kate's new job. I saw Anne and Kate talking, and we congratulated her. We all came back home. Anne left her car at our place and went back to her apartment after. She started saying she has to work so hard to get what Kate gets handed to her. I said this is a competitive field, and Anne should be more diligent. She blew up at me and my wife that we're egging Kate and Tom on. Apparently, Kate told Anne that she could help her out. I eventually told Anne she needs to stop sulking over Kate. Yes, maybe Kate had an edge at the firm, but from what I've heard from Tom, she always works on herself and is getting better, and Anne could learn something. Well, Anne got pretty angry after that. Both me and my wife called her, but she didn't answer. I don't think what I said was wrong, but my younger daughter thinks otherwise and said I should post on here. You're the jerk. You have a successful kid who is upset about blatant nepotism, and you decided to use this opportunity as a reason to criticize her for being lazy and not diligent enough. You're the jerk. Also, maybe you could learn something from Tom. Why don't you have any brothers co-owning a business in the field your daughter wants to work in? If you look at all sociological models of professional success, the social network of your parents is a bigger indicator of success than how much one applies themselves. OP is not going to change. His comments indicate that his pastime is looking down on his MIT graduate kid who got job offers on her own merit. He thinks she's lazy since she did not network like the other kid who networked her way into her family's firm. You're the jerk. Of course this is an unfair competition when she's related to one of the co-owners. You're being truly awful to your daughter. You're the jerk. Goodness, just disown your daughter and adopt Kate already. You treated your daughter terribly. Parents are supposed to be cheerleaders, not the harshest critic. Kate has a blatant advantage, courtesy of nepotism. But sure, your daughter's the one who didn't try hard enough and lazed about. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or is his daughter? Please let us know. Funny, I thought I was incompetent. One of my previous jobs was a very toxic workplace because the CEO was an absolute nut job. Micromanaged everyone and always wanted perfection. My role was twofold and therefore required me to work very closely with him a big chunk of the time. I didn't mind the perfection bit as I'm a perfectionist myself, very meticulous and have a keen eye on detail. It's the micromanaging part I couldn't stand. This one time we had a big media event where we were launching a new partnership. Having extensive experience with local media and knowing the requirements in terms of branding placement, etc., I knew what was needed for such an event. So I set up and even asked some of my media pals to confirm whether it was all visible in cameras. All was in order. Everyone was happy. Anyway, my boss comes in a whole hour earlier than expected and decides to micromanage and take setup matters into his own hands. I had stepped aside to welcome some guests, so imagine my shock when I came back to find him rearranging everything while screaming in front of everyone that we were incompetent and hadn't done it right. "What did I hire you for if I'm going to end up doing it myself?" is a common phrase he used all the time. I tried to explain the reasoning behind the placement, but he wouldn't let me get a word in. He then proceeded to tell me to leave everything as he had said it and let the other team deal with the rest of the event. I complied and removed myself from the event altogether since I was so incompetent. I went to stand at the back and didn't help out again the remainder of the event as per his request. Fast forward to when the coverage came out and everyone was asking why our branding wasn't visible. I told them all to take it up with my boss directly. See, I know from working closely with him that he doesn't like embarrassment and will do literally anything to avoid it. So having our shareholders, other high-profile stakeholders, and media asking him directly about this was a very embarrassing situation for him. Let's just say after that day, he would only show up to events right at the start time. He also told me to draft a policy that everyone company-wide had to follow, including him. When I finally had enough and quit, he said that he was sad to be losing such a great talent. Funny, I thought I was incompetent. Adult man tells his mommy on me, then hits me up on a dating app. I had a lady come down asking for my assistance in her room due to a disagreement between herself and her boyfriend. She said he had caused property damage to the hotel, and she just wanted someone there in the room with them while he packed a bag to leave so nothing else was damaged. I grabbed the cordless and head up, as there were two of us on the desk that night anyways. I get to the room with her and I just chill in the living room while the guy is in the bedroom packing his bag and speaking quietly on the phone. I don't go near him as he isn't doing anything to cause alarm at this time and is packing a bag to leave. I can't hear a single thing he's saying and I just make small talk with the female and her kids. 10 minutes into me waiting up there, a woman barges in as the door was not completely shut and she starts going off on the other lady and myself, saying she heard her son tell me multiple times to get out of the room and how I was being rude and talking crap back to him. At this time, the man comes out of the bedroom with his bag packed and starts getting on me too, claiming everything she's saying to me is correct. I'm bewildered how this went from me quietly being there to make sure that no damage happens to the hotel property to getting yelled at and screamed at. They demand I leave the room and I have officially called the cops. Not only have I called the cops, but a few rooms down heard it too and called. I stay in the room still, as I had noticed some hotel items damaged in the room earlier. I stay on the line with the police while this lady still yells and screams in my face until one finally appears in the doorway. He enters, I get off the phone, and ask to be let out of the room since there are police now to make sure that no damage happens. He lets me out. Another officer comes up and asks me for my side on what happened. I explain everything to him, and I let him know the lady is not allowed on our premises after she leaves with her son. I get on the elevator, which so happens to have my coworker on it, as she was coming up to see if I was all right. 30 minutes have passed by this time, and she asked me what happened. I looked at her and literally just broke down, straight up panic attack. Took me a good 2 hours to fully be okay again. Funny thing is, not even 2 months later, the guy hit me up on a dating app. I told him to go check on his mama, see if she's yelled at any more front desk associates since me, and I blocked him. My fiance expects me to be his free babysitter. I'm 28, female, and my fiance is 29, male. He has full custody of his 2 daughters and 1 son from his previous relationship. I've been with him for 5 years, his oldest is 10. When the world crashed and burned, the kids were put into remote learning. Because I was the one with a smaller income, I ended up having to stay home with the kids while he continued working. This year, the school decided to stay remote, so I am still home. I worked remotely for a little while, but soon was terminated due to the noise the kids made and not having a space away from the chaos. We've not had a break in over 2 years. No one offers to help with the kids. We never have date nights, nothing. The kids are always here. Their mother is a deadbeat. She took them for 4 hours the other day, despite having agreed to have them for 3 nights. The kids now hate her. We do too. Anyways, we got invited out tonight and I'm itching to get out of the house. Our buddy is having a small get-together at his place, 5 people including us. We found out a week ago. Since this point, I have asked my fiance to find a sitter multiple times. I have searched as well. I've asked my mom and my gram, both of which cannot. So I told him to ask his mother. He has given every single excuse not to. I need to get out of the house. After all, I'm the one who is constantly home with the kids and I need a break. I need adult time, period. So I told him either he finds a sitter or he can stay home with the kids while I go out. In which case, he says that I'm taking things too far and that I'm acting like it's the end of the world. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You need to rethink this whole relationship. You are a convenience to him, literally an unpaid worker. You should never ever stop working to support someone else's kids when there's no discussion of the relationship becoming permanent. Edit. I do see where OP said fiance now. My mistake. However, what I'm trying to convey is that OP is getting boxed into a situation where she will be 100% dependent on her fiance and caring for kids that can be taken away at a moment's notice until she is legally tied to them. I'm not saying her fiance isn't a great guy, but he could end this relationship tomorrow or tonight, and OP would be left with no job, likely no savings, a gap in her job history, and a broken heart when kids she's grown to love are suddenly not there anymore. He still gets adult time through work, and I'm pretty sure he gets other extra time like going out for some drinks with colleagues because he needs to go to build team morale or any other excuse like this. What does a regular afternoon look like after he gets home from work? How many times has he taken the kids for the entire day to give OP a day to just be herself and not be such a caretaker nor do chores? I'm guessing not even once every 2 months, probably so much less. OP has been an unpaid nanny/teacher for over 2 years, lost her job due to taking care of his kids, and is now taking things too far by asking for the smallest of favors. I would run so far and so fast. Yes, I would leave him so quickly. He's literally using every excuse in the book to prevent OP from going out and getting some adult time. She's working tirelessly as a stay-at-home parent to support someone else's kids with no breaks over 2 years. She literally has to stop her job to stay at home looking after his kids, and he can't babysit, or more correctly, parent, for one night? This is not okay. OP, he's being less of a parent to his own kids than you. And no date nights in 2 years? What are you doing in this relationship? He wants you as a maid, not a partner. OP isn't acting like the end of the world. He's lost the right to say that after he refused to parent his own kids. 2 years without snapping requires incredible resilience. But unless you guys can work this imbalance out, it's time to go. Don't want to give me my bacon? That's fine. This happened to me about a year ago during the peak of lockdown, and I thought I would share it. There were several restaurants that were struggling last year, some near the peak of lockdown. Several shut down completely, and others fired all of their staff just to try to stay afloat. Around this time, my wife and I made it into a habit to order takeout from our favorite establishments. We always tipped the standard 20+%, despite these always being takeout orders. One restaurant in particular forgot to include the bacon that was supposed to come with our order. The order was around $20, with a tip of around $5, so around $25 total. When you picked your order up from this restaurant, you had to park and come inside. There was no drive-through or curbside pickup. On this particular day, I picked up our order as usual and drove home, about a 5-minute drive. We immediately discovered that the bacon we had ordered was missing, so I called the restaurant. I expected to call and simply have them refund the $3 cost of the bacon. Simple enough, right? Wrong. This restaurant only had one person working the front, so when you called, you knew exactly who you were speaking with. When I called and stated that they must have forgotten to include the bacon, before I had a chance to ask for any type of resolution, refund, replacement, etc., this person informed me that there was a large sign in the restaurant instructing customers to check their orders for accuracy before leaving the store. As it turns out, the sign they mentioned was there. The instructions for checking your order was one of about 5 notes hastily written on a piece of printer paper taped to a wall. It was out of the way, not obvious, and sloppily handwritten. However, I had failed to read this note, and I had failed to check my order for accuracy before leaving the store. I admitted this and asked them to either refund the $3 or I could pick up the missing bacon. Definitely not a preferred option, but whatever. The restaurant refused these requests, told me the missing bacon was my fault, and went as far as to question whether the bacon had actually been forgotten, stating that they remembered packing my order. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. They had basically accused me of lying about $3 worth of bacon that was missing from an order. This conversation had escalated quickly in the span of about 30 seconds, and I was upset. I informed this person that they had failed to provide what I had ordered and that I would be forced to seek compensation, all $3 worth. I asked how they preferred I go about seeking this compensation, hoping that they would succumb and just give me a $3 refund. However, to no one's surprise but my own, the restaurant told me to go ahead and file a chargeback because they had video proof and that I would lose that chargeback case. So I did exactly that. I called up my credit card company and filed a chargeback. This chargeback was for $3 on a $25 charge, only $3, not the full charge. The agent with my credit card company offered to simply refund the $3 several times, but I kept insisting that it was the principle of it at this point, so I proceeded with the chargeback. There is paperwork that you have to fill out if a merchant contests a chargeback. About 3 months after initiating the chargeback, I get paperwork in the mail that instructs me to provide all of the proof I have. I provided no proof other than a recollection of what the merchant had stated, including them stating that they had video evidence of the bacon going into my order. I felt like I had already won at this point. It was costing them time and energy, and I was happy to fight the fight, all for the sake of $3. A couple of months after I submitted this follow-up paperwork, I get a letter from the credit card company stating that they had decided in my favor and that the merchant was forced to credit me the $3, a big win for humanity. What many people don't know is that a chargeback costs the merchant, especially small merchants, and this cost can easily be upwards of $100, despite the chargeback being for only $3. Additionally, if a merchant has enough chargebacks, a card processor may increase the merchant's rates or discontinue a contract entirely. Basically, any chargeback a small merchant has on their record is bad. So in all, the restaurant instructed me to file a chargeback. I wasted a ton of their time, ended up costing them in the neighborhood of $100 for the chargeback fee and won the $3 that they should have just credited me in the first place. Edited to clarify a few things. 1. The person in question was not a teenager. Not sure where everyone got that from. They were middle-aged, late 40s, and appeared to be the manager. 2. No, I will not be naming the restaurant. They're still in business. I still go there, and I have not seen this person or manager since this incident. I have no idea whether they quit or were fired or are now a Reddit troll, but I know they no longer work there. What a strange hill for them to die on. The phone call alone probably made them lose money from how much time they spent on it. It was likely the employee themselves being crappy and didn't want to make things right. Any normal food worker would have just gone, "Oh, sorry, here's a side of bacon." The manager probably didn't even know about it unless they're the one on the phone.
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.